to begin our time of worship by reading from Isaiah chapter 58. Then you will call and the Lord will answer. You will hear, you will cry for help, and he will say, "Here am I." If you do away with the yoke of oppression, with the pointing finger and malicious talk, and if you spend yourselves in behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and your night will become like the noonday. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land, and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. Let's sing to that God. Come set your rule and reign in our hearts again. Increase in us, we pray. Unveil why we're made. Come set our hearts ablaze with hope, like wildfire in our very soul. Holy Spirit, come, invade us now. We are your church. We need to rise in us. We seek your kingdom first. We hunger and we thirst. We waste our lives for your joy and pride. To see the captive's heart release, the hurt, the sick, the poor and weak. We lay down our lives for heaven's call. We are your church. We pray revive this earth. Come on! Build your kingdom here. Let the darkness hear. Stir your mighty hand. Feel our streets and lands. Set your church on fire. With this nation back. Change the atmosphere. Build your kingdom here. We pray. Unleash your kingdom power. We need it near and far. No voice without and now. Your changing heart. You made us for much more than that. Awake the kingdom seed in us. Fill us with the strength and love of Christ. We are your church. We are your home on earth. Build peace and the love of Christ around this room and greet one another in the name of the Lord.
Good morning. Nobody's back there. Oh, that's good. So awesome. You get these buttons over, Randy. That'd be great, sir. Thanks, sir. Well, good morning. Glad that you're here. Others are still gathering in, and that's always good. Maybe one of these days we'll get everybody used to that it starts at 10 o'clock. Well, I don't know. Some people just have bad habits, and it's hard to get them out. I'm not mentioning any names, Tim. Don't worry. I didn't call you out. I'm trying not to. But it's good. It's good. Well, welcome this morning. So glad that you're here and for this day. Want to make sure that you are aware that we will be joining together as soon as the service is over this morning downstairs for lunch together before we get back up here for the community to join us at 2 o'clock for our presentation of putting an end to human trafficking. And we're so delighted to have Jenifer Duncan with us all the way from Atlanta, or Hotlanta they call it. Anyway, we're so delighted to have her with us today and helping us in this cause. If you are a visitor with us today, there are inside your worship folder in the back of the seat you'll find a care card. If you wouldn't mind just filling that out and putting it in the offering plate here in a little bit, and that would just let us know that you're here and give us a chance to respond to your visit with us today. We appreciate you taking care of that. Also, in the back of the seat, there are encouragement cards, and if you think of somebody, see somebody that's not here, and you want to send them a little note, just write that on there, and we'll be sure to get that in the mail to them, and they will be able to take that. Or if somebody else just encourages you in some way, you see them in the service, or maybe whatever they do, just write an encouragement note and put that in the basket on the table in the foyer, or drop it in the offering plate and make sure that they Everything else, all the other activities, youth this afternoon, evening, anything else that happens today will be postponed or canceled for today. Not be happening because of the service this afternoon at 2 o'clock here. And like we said, don't forget about lunch. I'm sure we don't forget about lunch, but we want to eat together downstairs, and so we'll look forward to you being with us.
Brought your son's preacher.
You did? Good. I'll look forward to it.
I'm sure.
Awesome. If our ushers will come at this time, we'll come to you for our morning tithes and offerings. This is our regular offering. After a little bit, whenever Jenifer is through, we will come to you for another offering that will go. She's coming as on a love offering, free will basis. And so we want to make sure that we take care of that. And so after she's finished, we'll come to you for another offering that will go directly to her and help her defray her expenses in this endeavor. And we're so thankful that she has taken the time out to come and help us in spreading the word, helping us to know how we should react as well. But before we take the offering, would you join me in a responsive reading this morning? By the grace given me, I say to every one of you,
be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves.
share with God's people who are in need.
Live in harmony with one another.
Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position.
Do not repay anyone evil for evil.
If your enemy is hungry,
Feed him.
if he is thirsty,
Give him something to drink.
do not be overcome by evil.
But overcome evil with good.
Seek good, not evil, that you may live. Then the Lord God Almighty will be with you.
Maintain justice in the courts.
O Lord, in keeping with all your righteous acts,
Turn away your anger and your wrath.
we do not make request of you because we are righteous.
But because of your great mercy.
O Lord, listen.
O Lord, forgive.
O Lord, hear and act.
For your sake, do not delay, because your people bear your name.
Let's pray. Father, we're so thankful for this opportunity to gather together in your name, in your spirit, where we can encourage each other, worship you in spirit and in truth, where we can give back to you what rightfully belongs to you. We're so honored that you would place us as managers of what belongs to you. And I pray that you would help us to be at our best, at being the best managers we can be. Lord, I pray that you would bless this offering, bless those who give, those who have not to give, and may you multiply it for the furtherance of your cause, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
We must go.
act justly every day, loving mercy in every way, walking humbly before you are. You have shown us what you require. Freely we receive now, freely we will give. We must go, live to feed the hungry, stand beside the broken. We must go, stepping forward, keep us from just seeing, move us into action. We must go. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out, Lord. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out, Lord. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out, Lord. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out. Fill us up and send us out, Lord. We must go, live to feed the hungry, stand beside the broken. We must go, stepping forward, keep us from just sinking, move us into action. We must go. God of justice, Savior to all, came to rescue the weak and poor.
Amen.
You sing this one first. What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a this time, and as is our custom, you can come and kneel at the altar for any reason that you like. There is no qualification for coming forward. Like the song says, we have this friend in Jesus. And we have an opportunity to carry everything to Him in prayer. And we have this friend who is a better listener than any other friend. We have this friend who has the power to forgive like no other friend has. We have this friend who abides by us like no other friend can. Why would we not carry our burdens to Him? Don't miss this opportunity. I think a lot of us are taking opportunities throughout the week to talk to our God. I imagine we have some really active prayer lives in here. I imagine also some of us get to the end of the week and go, forgot about that part. Maybe missed some opportunities. But you have an opportunity now. And again, you don't have to have any particular reason other than we have a King who we serve who has invited you forward. So we're going to sing the first verse of What a Friend We Have in Jesus one more time. And the altars are open. Will you come and will you kneel, and we are going to lift our voices in prayer together as a people. What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Now, the idea has been very constant with me lately about the power of prayer. For many of us, prayer, I think, does become something that we just do. It becomes a part of our rhythm of life. For many others, perhaps we don't pray until we feel like we really are in need. But you have shown through your word and through your people up until now even your willingness to listen to us. And you have shown the way that you work through us. So prayer is more than just words that we say to you because you're powerful and we're not, and therefore we pray to you because you're God and we're not. But it's more than that. It's an actual opportunity to work with you, to co-labor with you. We have an actual opportunity to affect a real change in the world. We do. Because you empower us to do so. There's nothing empty about that kind of prayer. And we all can think of change we would like to see. Will you help us to put our own agendas aside and to seek yours, to seek your face and to seek your will, to seek your love, and let those things drive the change that we want to see. And then will you prepare us to go and do. Not just to sit and watch, not just to pray, like the song that we sang earlier said, not just to be singing, but actually moving into action. You have called us into action. Will you give us now? Will you equip us and empower us to go? For the people hurting this morning, whether they be emotional hurts or spiritual hurts, relationship hurts, physical hurts, financial hurts, will you help them to lay all of that before you? And will you help them, will you remind them who you are? That you are a great, great big God, and no matter what, our hope can rest in you. Even if you don't meet the needs that we expect you to meet in the way that we expect you to meet them, our hope continues to rest in who you are. Will you give us that peace, the peace that comes with that knowledge? Will you help us to know your love? Will you help us to be people of love who can't help but take the love that you give us and spread it around in abundance to all of the people we come in contact with? I think so many of the world's problems could be solved with love. And that starts with you, and then it comes right into your people. So it hinges on us. We have great opportunities to love the world around us. Thanks for meeting us here. Thanks for being in our midst. You're not just a God that's far away, but a God that is right here and right now. In us and among us and through us. We recognize that. We're thankful for that. We love you. Amen.
The children, Pastor Barb is there at the back door, and children are dismissed to go with her downstairs if you would like to. I'd like to take a couple minutes and introduce our speaker to you this morning. Jenifer comes with us all the way from Atlanta. Hot Atlanta, I guess as Pastor said. She's had 18 years of foundation experience previously before going with Street Grace. She's been leading the Demand and End in Georgia and nationally, Transaction Intersect, Youth Initiatives, and this is exciting, she has just been promoted to the Director of Outreach, which is working to build strategic partnerships with churches. And joining with churches to help demand an end. That is awesome. I'm excited to hear more about that, as well as businesses and organizations interested in furthering the mission of Street Grace. Jenifer feels incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to use her skills and experience to make a positive impact in this direction and with Demand an End and to save our children. We want to welcome you back this afternoon, or invite you back this afternoon as well. She will then be going into more details. She'll have some videos to show us. But would you welcome Jenifer Duncan with us this morning?
Thank you. I'm excited to be here this morning, although I wish that it was to talk about anything but sex trafficking. This is a very difficult topic, I know. It's hard to think about what's happening to our kids, and it's even harder to talk about. But if we don't talk about it, it just continues to perpetuate the situation. And so we feel very strongly that it's time to stand up and put an end to this. I want to thank Pastor Candy for all that she did to get me here, to work with me and coordinate all of what had to happen to make this happen. And Pastor Nathan for opening the pulpit to allow me to come up here and share with you today. So I'm blessed to be a part of this movement and to be a part of Street Grace. We really struggle with how to talk about this, and a lot of churches don't have the courage to allow us to come in and to share what's truly happening and what this means to our kids. So I applaud you guys for taking this on and for just being open to the idea of having an open conversation. I hope you will come back at to you, because that's going to be more of a presentation of really in-depth, like how to understand what's happening, how to recognize it, how to report suspected cases, how to talk to your kids about it. And in that, it will give us an opportunity to have a real dialogue and just answer questions and really get into the meat of the situation. So the fact that for so long we as a generation and as a society have allowed this to kind of just happen in the background and people not talk about it, that's how it has grown to become so aggressive and so much more evil than what it began as. It's destroying the lives of many of our children. In order for us to protect this generation, we have to take a stand and we have to talk to them about what's happening. We have to explain to them what good and bad are, what evil is in our society, and how they can help to change this. The cost of our resistance has been the innocence of a lot of our children. If we're going to end modern-day slavery, sex trafficking, DMST, or CSAC, you can call it what you want. It is evil and it is interchangeable. It will be because of the combined efforts of all of us. No one person or one organization can do this alone. We feel strongly that collaboration is important, and that's the only way that we're actually going to impact this. So, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Figure out what your thing is. What can you do to make a change? What can you do to help our kids? There's much progress being made, but there's still much to be done. And we know that in this situation, knowledge is power. If you know what to look for, you can recognize it. If you know what to do when you recognize it, you can impact it and potentially change someone's life. So my name is Jenifer Duncan. I am the Director of Outreach for Street Grace. This means that my main goal is to unite and mobilize churches across the country and communities to engage in this fight. We are fighting for the most vulnerable in our society, our kids. By raising awareness, educating, and providing resources so that you can be a part of the solution. Street Grace is a faith-based nonprofit organization headquartered in Atlanta, but we have programs across the country. We unite faith, business, and community leaders to end domestic minor sex trafficking. We do this by fighting the demand for sex with our children, while simultaneously educating and equipping our youth to protect themselves from would-be predators. Street Grace runs a number of different programs, all incorporating awareness, education, and action, with the ultimate goal of restoration and salvation for all parties involved, whether it's a buyer, a trafficker, or a survivor. And I want to be really clear, I use victims and survivors throughout my presentations. When someone is in the life, they are still a victim, because we could lose them at any moment. Okay? Once they have made the choice and made the step to get out and get help, then they are a survivor. So what we know is that awareness leads to education, and education leads to action. So my hope today is that I heighten your awareness and I lead you down a pathway to education so that you can figure out what actions you personally can take to make a positive impact. So what is sex trafficking? DMST, CSAC. Sex trafficking occurs when someone uses force, fraud, or coercion to cause a commercial sex act with an adult, or causes a minor to commit a commercial sex act. Anyone under the age of 18 is automatically a minor in this situation and automatically a victim, okay, under the Federal Trafficking Victims Protection Act. There's no question of whether they chose to engage in the act or if they agreed to engage in the act. If they are under the age of 18, they don't get that choice, okay? They're automatically a victim. They are not prosecuted. They just receive services to get help. CSAC or DMST is a felony in all 50 states, and there have been cases reported in all 50 states in the United States. A commercial sex act could include prostitution, pornography, or sexual performance. And this is done in exchange for the promise of something of value. And something of value could be money, drugs, food, shelter, clothing, an iPhone. We know of children who have been exploited for the cost of a Happy Meal. We know of a case in South Georgia where a family had purchased a minivan and then they fell on hard times. Somehow they came up with an arrangement with the manager of the car dealership where they would deliver their 14-year-old daughter for an hour a month, and that paid their car payment. I personally don't understand how an arrangement like that comes up, because if it's my daughter and you're making the suggestion, you're not walking out of that room. But also, how does a car dealer go to a family and say, oh, you know, I know you're about to lose your car, but here's an idea? Anyway. So who are the players in DMST or CSAC? First and foremost, it's our victims, our children. It can be boys and girls. The average age of entry into this situation is 12 to 14 years of age. These are our middle school kids. We have to protect them. They are not emotionally or legally able to make this type of a decision. Even if they think that they want this life because it looks glamorous at times, we wouldn't allow them to decide where they were going to live or where they were going to go to school. Why would we allow them to make a decision that could impact their lives in such a horrible way? This crime knows no ethnic or socioeconomic bounds. Whatever the buyer wants, the trafficker will deliver. Unfortunately, in this situation, the younger the child is, the more money they can charge. So we're seeing cases where we're not looking at 12 and 14-year-olds now, we're looking at 8 and 10-year-olds. I don't know what there is. I know that it's an illness. I know there's something broken in the person who's acting out in this way, because there's nothing sexy about a 10-year-old. And there shouldn't be. We shouldn't be looking at them in that way. So the second player is the trafficker. Sometimes they're referred to as boyfriends or pimps. I don't like the word pimp because we use it in our society as like a cool thing, pimp my ride or whatever. In this situation, they're not cool. It could be parents, relatives, friends. It could be anyone. But by and large, it is someone that the child knows and trusts. Really, they are the exploiter. They're the ones making big money. In Atlanta, it's estimated that a trafficker with 4 to 5 girls is making around $33,000 a week in cash. This is big money, and our children are their commodity. The third, and most importantly, are the buyers. Sometimes they get overlooked. Often they're referred to as customers or Johns, nice clean names. But they're exploiters as well. And they are the driving force behind this industry. If they were not willing and even demanding this service, and especially with younger and younger children, then the traffickers would have no reason or opportunity to exploit our kids. You hear stories about CEOs and pastors and principals and teachers, coaches in the news. Do you realize that the only reason you hear about those stories is because that's the only people that the media knows? They know their names, so they make a big deal about those people. The reality of it is the vast majority of the men buying, and I do say men a lot, sorry, it's 99% men, but my boss gets on me and he says, well, are you okay with a woman buying? No, I'm not okay with anyone buying. But the vast majority of the buyers are our neighbors, our friends, and the people that we would least suspect. Far too many of our children are being raped for profit by people who believe that because they have power, title, or money, that they have the right to take the innocence away from our children. No one has that right. Children have the right to grow up happy, healthy, and safe. And we are here to do everything in our power to make sure that that happens. We are often asked what DMST looks like. Well, if you want to know what a buyer, a trafficker, or a survivor could look like, look to your left and look to your right. That's why this is such a difficult battle, because it looks like us, and it is, in fact, among us. In a room of this size, we probably have people in here who could potentially be participating in this situation or could be survivors of situations that happened to them previously. So what do we know? We know that traffickers are targeting our kids wherever they are, whether they're at the mall or at a concert, in theaters, online, on phone apps, in churches, in camps. Wherever kids are and they feel safe, traffickers are there also. And they're looking for children and teens to suck into this evil and sick world. They make it look appealing, fun, exciting, even glamorous, when in reality it is anything but glamorous. They're offering modeling contracts, casting in music videos, that's a big one in Atlanta, gifts, cash, but what they provide is a life of pain, suffering, and sometimes even death. The average length of time that someone survives in sex trafficking is 7 years. So if someone is drawn in at 12, they may not see their 19th birthday unless we can get them out. We've got to find them and we've got to save them and give them an opportunity to take that step. The one thing that they all have in common is that they are exploiting a victim's vulnerability. We are all vulnerable in different ways. And these men and these women who are traffickers, they are master manipulators. They know how to pinpoint what your vulnerability is and exploit it. So I recently read a case here in Kansas of a 28-year-old man who was trafficking a 17-year-old girl. His purchasers wanted a younger girl. So he enlisted this 17-year-old to help him find a 13 to 14-year-old. Where did they go? He sent her to a youth group to befriend kids. This was a youth group in central Kansas town by the name of Wilson. I don't know where that is, but some of you probably do. She went there, she befriended a young lady who was 14. They became close friends, they exchanged messages on Facebook, they texted. Eventually, the 17-year-old introduced the 14-year-old to her pimp. He was asking for pictures, things were being exchanged, and then all of a sudden, the tables flipped, as they often do. As soon as she felt comfortable and safe in this relationship, he said, okay, well, it's time for you to help me. She got scared, and thank God she did. She went to her parents. Her parents knew what to do. They notified authorities. The police staked out their home. Because what was happening is this exploiter, this trafficker, was sending pictures to her of her house and saying, I know where you live. You're going to do what I say, or someone's going to get hurt. So the police staked out her house, and they were able to take pictures of the trafficker and this 17-year-old in her home. They prosecuted him. It was incredibly, the law enforcement here is very good. This is amazing to me. In a 6-minute trial, he was sentenced to 35 years. So that should give you a lot of hope. You have great law enforcement, you have great laws. I was amazed when I started looking up the laws in Kansas, comparing it to the laws in Georgia, because I thought we had great laws. You guys have it going on. So let's give human trafficking and modern-day slavery a factual context. There are more slaves in the world today than at any other time in history. The latest report by Global Slavery Index reports that there are 45.8 million men, women, and children around the world in slavery. There are more people being trafficked today than the population of Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina, Mississippi, and Kentucky combined. It's estimated that there are 500,000 to 1 million in slavery in the U.S. alone. Of the total number of victims in the world, the combined efforts of all nonprofit organizations, the UN, and all government agencies were helping less than 5% of the victims. This data proves that we have much to do. The underground commercial sex economy brings in an estimated $150 billion, with a B, dollars annually. Yet only $400 million is given in contributions to fight this problem. Economically, we have a lot to do. Human trafficking is the fastest growing and the second largest illegal underground economy in the world, second only to drugs, and recently surpassing guns. There are a lot of drug traffickers that are getting out of drugs and getting into human trafficking. Why? Yes. It is a lot less risky for them, because if you get pulled over and you've got a bunch of drugs in your car, you know you're going to jail. If you have a couple of kids, sometimes you can explain your way out of that. It's my niece, my nephew, whatever. It's a little less risky. Also, children are a renewable resource. Every time you sell drugs, you have to go buy more. So you're putting out money to make money. With a child, we know that they can be sold 10, 20 times a day. Sex trafficking is almost always a hidden crime, and victims rarely, if ever, come forward on their own. That's because of the fear of the trafficker the threats that they've received, also sometimes fear of law enforcement. They don't know what to believe or who to trust. You never know who it is that's been exploiting them. It could have been a law enforcement officer that was buying. You never know. We know of a case in Atlanta where one of the survivors that we have speak on a regular basis, her trafficker was actually a professor at a large university in Atlanta. They aren't the shady, scary people that you think they are. Sometimes they're upstanding citizens, or what we view as upstanding citizens. It's difficult, if not impossible, to talk about sex trafficking without talking about pornography. Okay? So I'm going to give you some facts about this. And this is the part where my son is the least comfortable with what I do. He comes home, he's 21, and he says, "But Mom, you talk about sex and pornography way too much." It is what it is. I never, ever in a million years dreamed that I would do something like this, but God had different plans, and I am grateful for the fact that He is equipping me to have these conversations. So, if you watch pornography, the overwhelming statistical probability is that you are gratifying yourself as you watch sex trafficking, rape, and or sexual exploitation. That's a fact. Let's talk about the prevalence of pornography in our society. In 2016, there were 91,980,225,000 porn videos watched on Pornhub alone. That is only one website. It's the largest one, but it's only one. That equates to 12.5 videos for every man, woman, and child alive on planet Earth. So, I'm not watching mine. That means somebody else is watching more. Just saying. I'm sure we have a lot of that. In 2016, one of the top categories watched by men was teen. A lot of the other top searched things were stepmom, stepsister, things like that. Things that you wouldn't normally think of that people would be searching for. However, the top searched word was love. Let that settle for a minute. These people are searching for love on a website full of pornography. They're not going to find what they're searching for. They are looking for God's unconditional love, and they're never going to find it there. We, as the church, and as the hands and feet of Christ, have to somehow reach them and give them the help that they need so that they can be healthy, holy, and live productive lives, and not end up in this realm where they're destroying their life, potentially their marriage, their job, their kids. So I'm not saying that everyone who watches porn will go out and purchase sex with a child. I want to be really clear on that. Okay? What I am saying is that by and large, those who are arrested for purchasing sex with a child or seeking to purchase sex with a child are also watching child pornography or teen pornography. When they are arrested, it is on their phones, it is on their computers, it is a fact. So I used to think that sex trafficking was only happening in other countries. Well, I think a lot of people probably have that misnomer. When I became aware that it was actually happening in the United States, and in Georgia more specifically, that was rattling to me. But then I thought, well, it can't be happening to kids that I know. It must be happening to kids who are locked in a closet or in a hotel room, and I don't see them, I can't help them. In 2015, there was a study done in Georgia that showed that 91% of the kids being trafficked there had been enrolled in school at the time of their exploitation. That was shocking to me. But it was also exciting because it means that these kids are in our community. They are out there where we can help them. We can find them if we just know what to look for and how to recognize it. We can be the light in the darkness. Street Grace at that time, this was 3 years ago, we formed a partnership with Gwinnett County Public Schools, and we now do mandated reporter training for every school employee, whether it's the custodian or the principal or the bus driver or any. We train all of those people to recognize, report, and support victims. Okay? That school system has 180,000 kids in it. It's a great start. But the reality of it is, our kids need to know what to look for. Because even though you might be a really great parent and you might be a really great teacher, kids have a way of hiding things from us as adults. Okay? The kids are the ones who need this information. They need to know what to look for and how to recognize it if their friends are in a situation that they don't know how to get out of. This generation has the power to end sex trafficking. So what are we doing at Street Grace? We are fighting the demand. We do this by raising awareness, education, and training. We have presented to over 65,000 people already this year, with 53,000 of them being under the age of 18. That's exciting to me. That's my passion, it's my heart. I want the kids to have the power. I want them to take this world back. Through our youth initiatives, we are educating and empowering the youth to protect themselves and their peers from exploiters. These programs run through schools, youth groups, youth conferences, civic organizations, and clubs like Rotary Interact. Parents may think that this subject is something that kids shouldn't know about and shouldn't talk about, but if you're not talking with your child about sex trafficking, about sex, about pornography, someone else is. If you want them to understand sex the way it was meant to be, the way God intended it to be, you're going to have to be the one to teach them. If you're not having these conversations at the dinner table, you need to rethink that. It's hard, it's scary, but we have some resources out on the table outside that will help you kind of open up that conversation. One of the easiest ways is to play the what if game with your kids. What would you do if some cute boy asked you to send a nude photo? Think about it. If you're talking to your child about it and you're helping them guide their thought process and their conversation, they're going to make a lot better choice when it really does happen, and it will. Than if they're alone in their room and someone asks them and they just flippantly do it, not even thinking about the repercussions or the consequences. These people have real-time access to your children even when they're at home in their rooms. If they have a computer or a cell phone, they know where they are, they know what they're doing. You need to make sure that they are safe. The Demand and End program, we run it through Georgia and nationally to unite each state through their Office of the Attorney General to fight sex trafficking across the country. This crime knows no bounds. It is running across, it's not independent of itself. Like, it's not just, the guys in Georgia are doing this in Georgia and these kids are in Georgia. It crosses county lines and state lines. So we need every state on board and fighting this together. We want the buyers to know that we are unmasking them. We know who they are, we know where they are. They rely on anonymity. They think that because they're behind a computer screen or behind their phone that no one knows who they are. But that's not true. We are unmasking them and we are prosecuting them. In Kansas, Kansas just recently signed on to our Demand and End national initiative. So we're excited to join you guys in the fight. So know that your elected officials are taking this seriously, and your law enforcement are taking it seriously, and your legislators are taking it seriously. So you should have some hope and some comfort in that. We have a program called Transaction Intercept. This is a really cool one where we place decoy ads on sites where children are being sold. Ours are not children, they appear to be. When the calls and the texts come in from people who want to set up a meeting, we intercept the call and we walk them through a script explaining the risk to the child, the risk to themselves, and what the laws are that they are treading lightly on here. Law enforcement does the same thing, but they are arresting these men. In Georgia, I know that just making the phone call is a felony. punishable by 20 to 30 years in prison, and a fine of up to $100,000 for making a phone call. Okay? We let them know that, hopeful that that may deter some of them. It won't deter all of them. We do know that 15% of those who we're texting the resources to are clicking on the link to get help. We don't know that they're going through with the counseling or anything like that, but at least they're taking the first step. So we are encouraged by that. As a faith-based organization, we believe in grace. Okay, so if you call our ad, we want to help you get the help that you need. Because we know, as well as everyone else should, that healthy 55, 60-year-old men are not seeking to have sex with 12 and 14-year-olds. Something has happened to these men to break them. Whether they have a sexual addiction, pornography addiction, or maybe they were sexually molested as a child and just never got the help that they needed. We want to help them get that help. That's our goal. That's not saying that if someone gets caught with a child that we don't think that they deserve prison, because we by all means do. But we also know that deviant sexual behavior is not cured in prison. So we are creating a new program where it will be a year-long program. It can be court mandated or it can be voluntary. But these men will go through a very intensive year-long program and get counseling and get help, so that hopefully they can come out on the other side whole and holy and not feel the urge to do something like this to our kids. Legislative advocacy, that's something that we're big on in Georgia. We run the Anti-Sex Trafficking Lobby Day, and we have 7 partner organizations and had over 700 people come to the Capitol last year, letting our legislators know that this is something that matters to them. That's something that you could do here. I don't know if Kansas has an Anti-Sex Trafficking Lobby Day. Maybe that's something that someone could take and run with. Finally, the most common thing that we hear after sharing with a group is, what can I do to help? Well, not everyone can quit their day job and go and do something like this full time, and we don't expect you to. But everyone can do something. Some people aren't comfortable talking about the subject at all, and that's fine. Maybe you can help support us financially. We currently have more opportunities than our budget can provide for. We're very blessed. There are only 2 of us on staff. We do a lot with 2. We are the most efficient 2 in the world, I think. And we're very blessed because our board has funded our salaries, and we have 2 church partners who have given us office space. So we have an office in the suburbs, and we have an office in the worst zip code in Atlanta, in Vine City. It is historically the worst zip code, and we are able to be there and be the light and love on the people of that community and share hope with them. Both of those offices are free. Every dollar donated to Street Grace has direct impact on our programs. We have this new thing set up, and I don't know a lot about it, so don't ask, but you can text to give, okay? So if you text the word GRACE, G-R-A-C-E, to a phone number, and it is 678-257-3911, then that will allow you to make a donation online if you would like to do so. You can follow us on social media, share our posts. That gives us a greater reach and a greater impact, because your friends are people that may not know us and know anything about what we do or how we do it. They may not even know about this issue at all. So please do that. You can sign up for a mailing list and share resources from our website. Everything that we have printed out there is free on our website. We share these resources freely. We want everyone to know what's going on and how they can get involved to help. Put the human trafficking hotline phone number in your phone, so that if you see something, you can actually make the phone call and help start to get help for that person. It is 888-373-7888. Again, 888-373-7888. That is the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. And lastly, you could come back at 2 o'clock and learn more about what's going on and be equipped to help recognize, report, and support survivors in your area. We stand here ready to help and are grateful for all of you and your attention this morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to share with you. And I covet your prayers. If you will pray for this, pray for the survivors, pray for the traffickers, and pray for the buyers. We really, truly want to reach all of their hearts. And the only way that's going to happen is if God intervenes. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jenifer, for sharing with us, and a lot of things I wasn't aware of. I'm sure some of you as well. Just helps me to know how I might be able to pray more, and more specifically about these needs. So I trust we will all take that to heart. With that, we want to come to you for an offering, like we said earlier, an offering for Jenifer to help defray these costs. And don't forget about the table of her things out there. And the phone number is out there too on some things. So please stop by and take that. And we want to be active, an active part in helping to put an end to this tragic illness in our country. For sure. Ushers, if you'll come again, please. Lord, we thank you for Jenifer and for her passion, her willingness to come and talk openly and share some very difficult things with us. It causes our heart to go out to all of those who are involved, victims, those who are survivors, the traffickers. That somehow, Father, what they're searching for is only found in you. Help us to be at our best to show you through our love for them. Pray that you would just anoint her and the street grace and this. You know, there are only two right now doing what she's doing. I pray, Lord, you would surround them with your protection. Would you surround them, Lord, with your presence and your blessing? Continue to use them in a mighty way, I pray. And help us to do our part as well. And I pray that you would just anoint this offering again as it goes for Jenifer and her cause. And we want to give you thanks for it. In Jesus' name. Thank you for your giving. Thank you for your attention. And as we prepare to go downstairs for lunch, if you'd stand with me, and I will pray for the food and pray for our dismissal as well. And we want God's blessing to continue to be upon this day. Amen. Father, thank you again for allowing us to come into your house today and to hear some harsh, hard things. Lord, I pray that you would do more than just cause us to be stirred, but you would motivate us into action, that we would be doing something. For all of us can play a part. So help us to be aware, help us to educate ourselves, to gather information, all that we need to do that we might be able to join this fight against sin, against wrong, that we would bring justice through your cause, through your name. Pray, Lord, you would bless the rest of this day. Bless the food that we're about to partake. Would you bless it for our bodies? Help us to use our strength for your glory and honor. We'll give you the praise for it. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. You are dismissed. God bless you.